My middle school self is so happy that checkers and headscarves are back in style, and I thought this little bandana was a great, quick project to introduce you to a little knitting technique called Entrelac. Entrelac lets you knit tiers of interlocking squares that join as you go, so you get this bold, graphic color work while only working one color at a time. And if you're looking for loads of practice with picking up stitches and SSK decreases, then this is the pattern for you. I used 2 colors of DK weight yarn and 4mm knitting needles. But since we grow this bandana as wide as we need, you could probably use any weight yarn and corresponding needle size. I've already got my first square here by casting on 5 stitches and knitting 10 rows. Now I'm going to cut my yarn, and we will have to cut the yarn and fasten on a new color every time we add a tier of blocks, making this a good opportunity for some scrap busting. Now we need to cast on 5 stitches in the new color onto the left needle here, and I tried a few ways but ultimately decided to do it like this. I'll knit into the first stitch with both colors. And just pop that stitch back onto the left needle to knit on 1 stitch. Using just the purple yarn, I can continue to knit on 4 more stitches. And if you're not familiar, this is called the knitted on cast on. With 5 purple stitches cast on, I can knit 4, and when you come to this little double strand stitch, treat it as 1 stitch and slip that stitch knitwise, slip the next green stitch, and knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop to do an SSK decrease. This binds off 1 green stitch and joins your purple block, which will all make sense once we start working a bit more. So tighten up those tails, and we'll turn our work. The green stitches are on hold over on this needle. We'll just knit the purple stitches. So knit 5 in the new color, turn your work, and we're going to knit 4. With 1 purple stitch left, it's time to SSK with 1 purple and 1 green. Knit through the back loop. Now only 3 green stitches remain. Turn and knit 5. Turn and knit 4. SSK. We're going to do this a couple more times, so I'll speed it up, but you'll knit 5, turn, knit 4 SSK until you've bound off all of the live green stitches. And see how we joined the purple block to the green block while we did it? Isn't that cool? So we've still got 5 purple stitches, and for our second block we'll need 5 more. We're going to pick up those stitches along this edge of the green block below. I look for this little pretzel-shaped bump along the garter ridge here, and insert my needle right into one of the holes of that pretzel. Wrap the needle and pick up a stitch. And pick up a stitch for each pretzel that you see. On the cast on end, it looks a little messy here, but just pick up a stitch in the very corner somewhere. Now we've got 10 purple stitches live on our needle, but we're only going to work across the first 5. So turn your work and knit 5. Turn again and knit 5. And continue until you've worked 10 rows of garter stitch. And that completes block tier 2. So we've got 1 green block in tier 1, 2 purple blocks in tier 2, and you've probably guessed we're going to work 3 green blocks in tier 3. So just like before, I'm going to cut my yarn, grab my new yarn, and knit on 1 stitch with both of those yarns for no other reason than I just thought it gave the cleanest result. And continue with your new color, knitting on 4 more stitches. With 5 stitches knit on, you can knit 4, SSK. So slip, slip, and knit those 2 together through the back loop. And tighten up those tails. Turn your work and knit 5. Turn and knit 4. Then SSK, 1 green and 1 purple. Repeat this, turn, knit 5, turn, knit 4 SSK, until you've worked that last SSK to bind off the last of the previous tier's block. And now we can pick up 5 stitches along the edge of this purple block. Turn your work, and we've got a bunch more knit 5, turn, knit 4 SSK to do. So continue to knit 5, turn your work, knit 4 SSK to bind off one of the previous tier's stitches until you've bound off all of those stitches in the previous color. We've got 1 corner block, 1 center block, and we've got to make 1 more corner block. The last block of each tier is the easy one, because all you got to do is pick up 5 stitches, and knit those 5 stitches for 10 total rows. And we've got our third tier and 3 green blocks. You can see where I'd cast on 5 purple stitches, and we can repeat the process on the next tier to create 4 purple blocks. So continue like this until you've grown your triangle so that it's about 18 inches on the long side. That was 12 tiers for me, and I've transferred it onto circular needles so you can see it all a little bit better. All we gotta do now is bind off the live stitches and fill these little gaps here with green triangles. This part is going to look pretty familiar. In the new color, we'll knit on 5 stitches. Knit 4, SSK, Turn your work and knit 5. Turn your work, and this time we're going to knit the first 2 stitches together. Then knit up to the last stitch of this block and SSK just like before. Turn and knit all stitches, which is now 4. Turn and knit 2 together. Knit 1 and SSK. Turn and knit 3. Turn and knit 2 together. There are no stitches left to knit, so we'll SSK. And turn. Knit the 2 green stitches that remain. Turn, and we've got just 2 greens and 1 purple left. We're not going to knit these 2 together, but rather slip the first stitch, then SSK the next 2, slip, slip, knit those 2 together through the back loop, and finally pass the slipped stitch over. Ta-da! We've got our first green triangle corner to the bandana. Now we're going to work a middle triangle, which starts with picking up 5 stitches along the edge of this block. And you've actually got 6 green stitches now, because there was 1 left over from working the last triangle. So turn and knit 6. Turn and knit 2 together. And knit up to the last green stitch, SSK. Continue, turn and knit all stitches, turn and knit 2 together, knit up to the last stitch of the current triangle that you're working on, and SSK to bind off one of the previous block stitches. Continue like this until when you turn, only 2 green stitches and 1 purple remain, and slip the first stitch, SSK, PSSO, or pass the slip stitch over. So here's what that center triangle will look like, and you'll make several more of those, binding off all your blocks from the previous tier and filling in all those gaps. And the last couple of stitches from your last middle triangle will look like this. So I've got all my middle triangles done, and I've just got to do the very last corner triangle. And just like the final block of each tier, this is the easy one. I'm going to pick up my 5 stitches and knit 6, turn, knit the first 2 together, and knit the remaining stitches. Continue, turn, knit all the stitches, turn, knit 2 together, and then knit the rest of the stitches. Repeat until you've got 2 stitches left, and then it's fine to just pass the first one over and call it a day. And there's our little bandana with loads of ends to weave in. And since we have so many ends here, I'm going to show you real quick how I do it. I like to take a small crochet hook and weave the end around and around the edge of the corresponding color block. Then I stick my hook under one of the garter bumps and untwist the plies of my yarn. I'll take about half of the plies under the bump and tie a really tight knot a few times right here so I can cut the ends very short. All that's left to do is add a couple small ties to the corners so we can actually wear our bandana. Make 2 little I-cords, or crochet chains, at least 7 inches long. And if you're curious about some I-cord making methods, including this speedy crochet one that I did, check out this video, 5 ways to make an I-cord, and see which one you like best. This is my fave because it goes super fast. I hope you enjoyed this pattern and dabbling in the Entrelac technique. Check out my blog for written instructions to follow at your convenience, and I'll see you next time. Bye!